I'm Pat McAfee, and I can't wait to go across the pond to listen to Across the Pod, fresh out of Wales. Special stuff. Cheers.
Hello everyone, Andy here, and here's what you can look forward to in today's episode. In today's episode, I was joined by Philadelphia Eagles fan Steve McGuinness as we look ahead to the team's upcoming season. Steve discusses yet another new offensive coordinator for quarterback Jalen Hurts.
He is, and has shown that he is adaptable and respectful to his coaches.
I ask Steve about the future of one Eagles defensive player.
There's some chatter online that he may not be in Philly longer than 2026.
And much more as Steve predicts the team's overall end of season record in our win, loss or tie segment. Hope you all enjoy.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the Across the Pod NFL podcast. I am your host today, Andy Davis, and we are on Team Season Preview 9 out of 32. And as you can see from the title of the episode, the team we are focusing on today is the Philadelphia Eagles. And of course, if we're going to mention the Eagles, there's one man to do it. He came on for last season's season preview, and the year before, and the year before, and the year before. It's Steve McGuinness. Steve, great to have you back on.
Thanks for having me on, Andy. It's I really look forward to these because every year we adapt, we change, when we win, we just want to win more. When we lose, we complain, but we still want to win more. And I'm getting to see the Eagles in person this year. I cannot wait to see them in person. I missed them last time around. Tickets are booked, everything else. So obviously, I'll catch you in London when we get across in October. But I talked to Luke. Luke did the Bears preview with you recently, so I hope that's coming up for viewers shortly. Let's get into it.
Yeah, I mean, by this time, when this podcast is released, the Bears one will already be released. So, you can hear Luke's prediction for his upcoming Bears season and, all that good stuff. And, of course, we are recording today, July 24th, and, of course, things might change. News might come out between now and when it's released. So if that happens, you know why. But as a keen Philadelphia sports lover, I wanted to ask you about some news that's broken in the last few hours. And I've got behind me, I've got a 76ers jersey behind me.
I don't want to talk about him.
Wait, so...
go on, ask the question.
Well, LeBron James is going to join the Sixers.
He is coming to join the Sixers. Now, he's one of those, I'm a huge basketball fan. I've been following it since the late 80s, early 90s, when I was in my teens. So I grew up on the likes of, the Jordans and the Pippins and the Barclays and, the absolute Philly legend that is Allen Iverson. LeBron James is coming at the end of his career on a kind of $8 million over 2 years deal. Now, LeBron, I'm not going to try and argue the whole GOAT thing. Over his first 10, 15 seasons in the league, the guy was utterly unplayable. He's in the discussion, no question. Over his last 5 to 10 years in the league, he's been a power-hungry flopper. His numbers are still there, but again, it's because he's surrounding himself with a team that makes him look good. And in Philly, I don't know if he has that level of teammate. I genuinely don't know if him and Joel Embiid can put their egos aside, because those are two guys who, this is my team, no matter who's with them. And I really hope that what he does is kind of elevates the guys around him. I want to see Tyrese Maxey absolutely destroy the league this year. But I don't want the team to be... When we brought in Harden had a single purpose, and it was score points. Defensively wasn't interested. And when you've got a player who they don't want to play the whole game, they just want to play their game, sometimes that can really affect your team. And I hope that doesn't happen with the Sixers, because I'd really like to see us going to run this year. We're finally breaking that Boston curse in the playoffs. Just if he's the thing that we need to just push it to that finals performance, I will put the hands up, I will bow down, I will kiss the ring. I'm worried. I'm genuinely worried.
I wish I was more of an expert to be able to even come back with an answer for that one. I'm just basically a Steph Curry lover, but but I will say that the guy's jersey behind me, Ben Simmons, is actually the guy who got me into basketball, not Curry, which may sound a bit crazy, but I did get into it via watching my friend Adam, shout out to Adam, playing NBA 2K. And Ben Simmons was, for some reason, overpowered on the game, so got into watching that. Saw his highlights, thought he looked good. That shows my knowledge of the sport at that time. But yeah, no, he still a guy I love to defend, and I love to see do well, even if he hasn't done well for many years. But we'll move on to the Eagles off season. So in the off season, the Eagles lost the likes of Reed Blankenship, Nakobe Dean, AJ Dillon, Jahan Dotson, Kylan Granson, Sam Howe, Aziz Ojolari, Jaden Phillips, Josh Uche, and Brett Toth. Whereas you re-signed the likes of Braden Mann, Dallas Goddard, Marcus Epps, Grant Calcaretta, and then you signed in free agency the likes of Reek Woolen, Jonathan Jones, Marquise Brown, Damian Pierce, Elijah Moore, Joe Tryon Chiuka, I always forget how you say his name, Elijah Mitchell, AJ Epinesa. Ironically, today we're talking about LeBron James. You signed Michael Jordan in the offseason.
Yes.
And then also in the draft, you took... you re-signed as well Jordan Davis, Landon Dickerson, Jake Elliott, Dontavion Wicks, Jonathan Grenard, Jalen Carter, and Nolan Smith. And you did also trade for Andy Dalton as well. Whereas in the draft, you took Makai Lemon out of USC, 20th overall. You took Eli Stowers, tight end, out of Vanderbilt, 54th overall, as well as Markel Bell, tackle from Miami, 68th overall, as well as 5 other players. Steve, for you, what's your take on the team's off-season?
So I've had a lot of time, because we discussed the running order for this a while back, and I've had a lot of time to really go through what we drafted and get some personal opinions on what was in and out. Which area do you want me to start in? We'll go offense or defense?
Let's go offense, because the one thing I haven't mentioned, actually, I completely forgot to mention, the team also traded away A.J. Brown to the Patriots. So you're bringing in Makai Lemon, you're losing A.J. Brown. It was kind of obvious when you took Makai Lemon in the draft, that's what was going to happen. June 1st, as you all expected, he departed from the Eagles to the Patriots. Now, A.J. Brown had his disagreements with the team, Jalen Hurts, Sirianni, all that. But at the same time, he played in 2 Super Bowls, scored in both those Super Bowls. He was a big, important player for a lot of his time with the Eagles. Makai Lemon has had some concerns over his personality a little bit. Big act to follow for Makai Lemon.
Yeah, so I think the fortunate thing for this is Makai Lemon isn't trying to follow A.J. Brown. One of the good things about, because I looked at our offense, our wide receivers this year, and I thought we're really losing AJ. We're kind of undersized. There's not the kind of bruisers. There's not the kind of the big one-on-one, big body wide out to go and contest the throws in the corner when everything is going to the other side. But this is a system shift. I think you'll see. We'll talk later about Mannion replacing Patullo and how. Actually, in bringing in players like Wicks and drafting players like Lemon and trading on Brown for what I still think was a really ridiculously good price. I did not think we would get a first for him, but we did. The system will change. Patullo was very kind of up the center, fill the box, and then look to your wide receivers for kind of like one-on-ones when they were quite static. This is the thing about A.J. Brown. For all his athleticism, the system that he was running in with Patullo's scheme he wasn't getting the opportunity to really use that athleticism. It was like, you are going to go here, you're going to run 10, 15 yards, you're going to contest almost every throw. Now, I think Mannion's system, when it comes in, will be much, much more fluid. You'll see a lot more routes which are shorter. You'll see a lot more in the slot. You'll still see big outside matchups, but in the way his system runs and the way he moves the line, you'll see a lot more kind of lateral movement than straight up the middle. And what that'll do, it'll create more opportunity for release for the smaller wide receivers, which, you mentioned Lemon there. Lemon in the slot I think, is going to have a field day. Again, with him, I've watched a lot of his college stuff. I think his biggest issue is going to be, can he get the Philly mentality? Can he get that proper, this isn't just about the team. This is about the city. This is about, understanding that you have to bleed green to play for this team. But Wicks, Dontavian Wicks is actually the guy. First off, Devonta Smith is going to have a field day because he's now the undisputed WR1 there. He's going to get a lot of deep shots. He's going to get a lot more space to release from his safeties and his corners. And I think he'll probably very possibly be a top 5, top 6 wide receiver in the league this year. But Dontavian Wicks, who we brought in from the Packers, I genuinely think could have a good season this year. We've talked for years about how, when the Packers drafted like 4 or 5 genuinely good but not great wide receivers. Watson came in, Wicks came in. I can't remember who the third one is. But the end result was you had a bunch of rookies that came in at the same time with great talent, but too many of them. And none of them could really stand out as being the WR1 there. I know Watson is technically, because he's the big body guy and he's got the bigger contract, but his numbers don't stack up to the best in the league. And I think Wicks moving from the Packers to us, I know there were some issues with his conduct while he was in the Packers. I think coming here and getting that hand on the shoulder and saying, you are the WR2 here, right? Smithy's the number 1. You're the other guy. Yeah, show us. You'll get the snaps. You'll get the time. The system's designed to let someone like you, who's quicker but smaller, that needs the time to release, get your space and get your catches. And I think that's where, offensively, this will be a completely different Eagles this year. I think the smaller, faster wide receivers will benefit.
You think as well, because we saw Stephon Diggs, when he left Buffalo, everyone was saying that was a Bills decline, their window was closed. Josh Allen has arguably gone from strength to strength without Diggs. And it's kind of a result of big egos. If players aren't getting on, this is what happens when they depart. Much better chemistry, and therefore the team will perform better. And there's always an argument to make that now Brown's out the door, even though very good player. If he's not getting on with Jalen Hurts, and there's no point keeping him, and that could be something we see in terms of the morale and the chemistry around the offense, might actually improve even if the receivers aren't as good as Brown.
I completely agree, and this is going to be a difficult season for Hurts. Because Patullo's offense was so predictable in a lot of places, and Mannion's offenses tend to be a little bit more, expansive. You ask about Philly, you ask anyone who are the Philadelphia Eagles, and they say, "Oh, they're the team that did the Philly special." The Eagles, when we play with trickery, are at our best. Some of our most memorable plays are amazing trick plays. And we really didn't have that last season under Patullo at all. And I'll be glad to see that coming back. But with the new system, Hurts is going to have to learn to play a slightly different way. There's not going to be quite as much in the pocket. There's going to be a lot more lateral movement. But I think he'll adapt to it pretty well. And I don't want to criticize AJ Brown. Like you say, he came for 3 seasons. He won a Super Bowl. He put up the numbers. You can say what you want about what he said within the team, how it did for morale. But at the end of the day, he was and still is a league-leading talent. And I'm pretty sure he'll do well with the Patriots.
Yeah, I think that's perfect for Drake May. He's going to have a number 1 receiver like Brown. I think that's, and also Brown, I believe, was a Patriots fan as a boy. So for him, he's going to be much happier there. A team that he, I'm assuming, dreamt of as a child of playing for. But it's going to be different for the offense for the Eagles. And this leads into my first kind of question, was about the upgrade of offensive coordinator to Sean Mannion. Now, here's a fact that's going to make you feel old about Sean Mannion. He was drafted in 2015, and he's now already a retired player who is now a coach. doesn't time fly? Now, no one remembered him being drafted. It's not like he was a first-round pick or anything like that, but the fact he was drafted 11 years ago into the league and he's already into his third season as a coach, that just makes me feel incredibly old.
I don't feel quite so old for it, but I think what it reminds me is that NFL players' careers are short. Your average, you get a 5-year deal as a rookie if you're lucky. The average career is 7 to 8 years. You don't see many guys get beyond 10, and you do when you get them beyond 10, you can really see them breaking down. This is a hard league as an athlete to survive in. You know, you are constantly on it. You need to keep weight. You need to keep training. You need to spend your entire game trying to run someone over. You know, that's a hard life to live, regardless of the benefits you get out of it. So yeah, 10 years. And he's had several years already coaching. Yeah, I don't feel old. I think it's a reminder that it's a harsh league. You know, but it's the sport we love. So
exactly, and he'll be having the task of trying to coach Jalen Hurts, who did have a down year in 2025, but he comes in with his only previous coaching experience at the Packers as a offensive assistant in 2024 and the quarterbacks coach in 2025. So he comes in with, in relative speaking, a short amount of time as a coach, but now he has, I think, one of the most disaffected quarterbacks in the league to kind of coach. But kind of, how do you think that's going to work? How do you see them two meshing together, Jalen Hurts and Sean Mannion?
The thing I have to say on this is Hurts's 6th or 7th season. I can't remember in the league, and this is Hurts's 5th or 6th offensive coordinator. Here's a guy who's come in, and the head coach has only changed once since he arrived, but everything else around him has changed every single year, and he's adapted to it every single year. And there's no doubt 100% that he had a down year last year. Super Bowl curse is a real thing. But at the same time, that wasn't just on Hurts. That was an across the board. We as fans put a lot of blame on Patullo for that, for having a really predictable system. And I'm hoping, because Mannion's obviously been studying under Matt LaFleur. Offensively, LaFleur has a lot of different looks and a lot of different play structures to the very kind of narrow, I would always say almost college level that Patullo play called at. And I'm hoping, I mean, I can see some of the stuff that Mannion's done. I can see the shifts that he wants to make for the offensive line to be a bit more outside zone, as opposed to the kind of vertical power runs we used to do. He'll use a lot more condensed formations, so it won't be like super wide. It'll be more kind of very narrow and then splitting out. That's what I said earlier about that kind of system creates a lot more space and a lot more release for shorter, faster wide receivers, which is what we have now. I want to see if it creates the time for Hurts to sit, because with Patullo's system, it was designed to let Hurts really just stand in the pocket and not have to move too much before he made his throws. He'll have to be more mobile. There'll be a lot more throwing on the run because the way I think Mannion's going to run the line is it's going to move laterally. It's not going to be Saquon's not going straight up the middle every time, and we don't have AJ Dillon. We don't have a kind of power back to really wear them down as well. Something I'll get onto later. And I think what that's going to mean is we'll see less designed run plays for Hurts this season, which that was his bread and butter last year, and that was his bread and butter in the season that we won the Super Bowl. So he is and has shown that he is adaptable and respectful to his coaches. And I think he'll have gone in this summer and said, you know what, it's another new coach. Okay, I'm the guy here. I'm the team leader. I'm the guy who needs to get that across to everyone else that, right, we go again. We start from scratch. We rebuild. So, yeah, Hurts's adaptability has been his strength. For all the criticism he gets in the league with tush pushes and everything else, He might have a lot less rushing touchdowns this year, but I don't think we're going to see a significant drop. We may even see a rise, I reckon, in his yardage and his passing touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, you don't get to 2 Super Bowls and ball out in both, and guide a team to NFC Championship if you're not a good quarterback. And I've always felt like he gets a lot of stick, but actually, in the biggest moments, he's often delivered. You think about when it was sort of getting a bit tight in the Chiefs-Eagles game, or they were kind of starting to run away with it, and then he had that deep ball. I think that was one to A.J. Brown in the Super Bowl, which all but sealed the game. So I think Hurts, he has that dog in him. He has that big game mentality, and I think he's quite a cool guy. Seems quite relaxed. Seems to have a great mentality as a leader and as a locker room guy. So, yeah, I'm hoping and expecting him to have a good year again in 2026.
One of the things I do want to say with Hurts is, like, I think Hurts suffers from fantasy football syndrome. A lot of people look at the league and go, Lamar's a great quarterback, Josh Allen's a great quarterback, Joe Burrow's a great quarterback, and yet none of those have led their team to a Super Bowl. Okay, they've all had long careers. They're all exceptional talents. None of them have led their team to a Super Bowl, let alone won it. Right? So you have to say that there is something else in Hurts' mentality as a leader, right, that gets to his team and gets his guys playing that extra 0.5%, 1% that others can't do.
Yeah, you make a good point, because we did a ranking every starting quarterback episode with Sam Moores. Do check it out if you haven't already. And our top 5s were consensus in different orders, but we all had Mahomes, we all had Allen, we all had Jackson, all had Burrow, all had Stafford. Now, if you take away Mahomes for obvious reasons, between Allen, Jackson, Burrow, and Stafford, they have played in the same amount of Super Bowls as Hurts has. Allen none, Jackson none, Burrow and Stafford once, and played against each other. So, yeah, the fact that Hurts, he might not have the talent of maybe other players, but you can't argue with his record, or the fact that he, at the end of the day, it's all about how you do in the postseason. It's all about how you do, I think, awards. And I think as a quarterback, I try to avoid going by, in team sports, like go by trophies, because it's a team sport. But at the same time, I think as a quarterback, you're the leader, you're the heartbeat of the offense. You're playing every single snap, whether you're throwing it or handing the ball off. So the fact that he has made 2 Super Bowls, I think it deserves a lot of credit. Now, Eli Manning made 2, but he's got nowhere near the talent of Hurts, and he got lucky, I think, with just 2 insane catches in back-to-back games. So I think Hurts gets incredibly disrespected, and I think people forget just how good of a thrower he actually can be.
Yeah, I mean, if you recall that game against the Chiefs, and it was like your team's like 25 points up, right? And he just turns around and says, "You know what? This is not a game where I can grind this out. I don't want to sit here and go yard for yard for yard, right? I want my guys to know that I led them to a dominant win. I want them to throw that massive downfield dagger to Smitty. I want to see that 70-yard touchdown that breaks the hearts of the opposition. Yeah, that's the kind of thing that, like, I'm sure he would have gone onto the sidelines before that play, and he said to the coach, "No, let's not grind this out. Let's make a statement." Right? He knows he's got the guys around him. He has confidence in the guys around him. Right, and that shows. Yeah, you can talk about how AJ Brown was complaining about he didn't get enough catches on this or that or the other. I don't think AJ Brown would have said anything about that in the locker room before the game or after the game. That's the kind of thing that gets discussed on the training ground during the week. Why wasn't I caught this? On game day, I think Hurts commands complete respect from everyone in the team.
I think you're totally right. Before we go into our final segment, though, I want to ask you, going from offense to defense, about one man in particular who does make a lot of headlines, both for good and bad reasons. Jalen Carter. Now, he had a career year in 2024. Obviously, won a Super Bowl. But his 2025 season started off in not the best way. He was ejected before basically a ball was snapped for spitting at Dak Prescott. Now, albeit less games in 2025, but his statistics were down on every single stat. Tackles, both combined and individual, tackles for loss, sacks, forced fumbles, fumble recoveries. The only thing that improved was passes defended, but everything else was on a down year. And there's some chatter online that he may not be in Philly longer than 2026 in terms of contracts. Does that worry you at all about kind of the form he did, the dip in form he did have in 2025 going into this upcoming 2026 season?
A couple of things I've seen this. I'll go through a couple of things in the defense, but if you want to start on Jalen Carter, I'll start on Jalen Carter. First up, Jalen Carter had a down year. Yeah. Did his stats fall off a cliff compared to the 2 previous seasons? Yeah. But here's the thing: when you get a guy of that level of talent, actually, before I say this, I need to go to a very similar player who left us this summer and give you why this is relevant. So Nakobe Dean went this year, yeah, left us, went to the Raiders, yeah. We drafted over 3 years a whole pile of Georgia Bulldogs. We created, like you said earlier, a real Bulldog mentality. Okay, those guys were guys who kind of came through. They came through college together. They came to the team together. They came through life together. They were brothers beyond just teammates. So I was gutted to lose Nakobe Dean. There were so many Georgia players on the roster. It's not just losing a teammate. It's like you say, it's losing a brother. But that was ultimately a fitness thing. You could see how good Nakobe Dean was when he was fit. But if you remember his rookie season, he was in the draft. He fell down the draft board because he was unwilling to commit to pectoral surgery. And he played that whole season. He played all 17 games, but he played most of them on special teams. And then next season he came in, played well, got injured, played well, got injured. He was one of those players who, when he was fit, we could see greatness in him. But ultimately, he's a linebacker that played 4 seasons and got 7.5 sacks. Right? So ultimately, we didn't pick up the 5th-year option and off he went. Now, why that relates to Carter? Carter has that same thing of he came in and there were concerns. Like, it was the whole kind of he'd been involved in some off the field stuff, so his stock slid. But he doesn't have Nakobe Dean's injury record, so he doesn't have that to defend himself. But this is his 4th season. Yeah, he's made 2 Pro Bowls. Yeah, we picked up his 5th-year option. We gave him $27.5 million for next season. Based on the fact, well, that's the minimum you can give to a rookie that makes 2 Pro Bowls in his first 3 seasons. He does have that Philly mentality, but how he fell off last season isn't, I think, specific to how Jalen Carter is as a player and a person. I think it was in general as far as the Eagles D went. That Eagles D was not the Super Bowl winning Eagles D. The talent that came in didn't gel as well. We struggled on offense, which meant the D was on the field a lot more tired, a lot more work, a lot more effort. And I think, yes, the thing with Dak at the start of the season made us all go, there were concerns over his temperament, weren't there? But what I didn't see was him letting that affect him. You still saw the same level of effort and drive and push. And when you saw him off away from the game, when you saw him on camera and he talked about it, you still saw that same level of desire to be a great player. I have this thing with young players. It's like if you win a Super Bowl ring in your first couple of seasons, right, you can say to yourself, that's it, I've reached the peak, right? And you can slip off. Or you can say, that's the start of my career. That's just the first. I want a second. I want a third. This feeling is like nothing on earth, right? And I think Carter has that. I think he has that mentality. I need to see a big improvement from the rest of the defense this season because he's one man. He's a great talent, but he's still young, and he needs the guys around him to pick up and have his drive. We've moved a lot of defensive players on this season who I would have liked to have kept. I'd like to say, salute to Reed Blankenship. We can no longer do the whole 2 white guys joke and I'm not Cooper DeJean. It was just funny. I And one that, I would love to have kept, and you'll understand why on this one, is Jalen Phillips. We really only had him for a rental last year, but with him in there, in 8 games, he fitted their scheme so well. He really knuckled down. His stats were great, but this is the problem when you get someone like that on a 1 year on a 1 year prove it. The money he could get elsewhere, we just don't have that kind of cap space. Our biggest and best defensive players, like Jalen Carter, have all been guys we've drafted. So we built a mentality from the ground up, and we don't often bring in big name free agent defensive signings. So those losses I think are big. The guys we drafted in, fantastic. I think will really help. Just stepping away from Carter for a second. What do you think of Uwer Bernard?
Uwer Bernard?
Bernard, our rookie, our 300-pound Nigerian rookie who's never played football before, and who looks. I have this feeling. Mekhi Becton, who we brought in from the Jets. You recall Becton was one of these massive, big physical specimens who just couldn't fit in a system, right? He needed the right people around him. He needed the right coaching around him, yeah? But he was like an offensive lineman. I think Uwer Bernard has that, because there's so little tape on him for teams to actually go and scout. I think when he gets into the game this season, he's going to be terrifying.
I'm looking. I literally never heard of this guy, but I'm looking at now, and I'm looking at the kind of the images of him. He looks massive. They're calling him the NFL's Wembanyama. Now I don't know whether that's down to the fact that he's
7 foot tall. Yeah,
but
he's massive.
Yeah, he is massive. Looking at these pictures now, I don't normally look at men's pictures, topless pictures on Google, but I'm seeing him now, and it's he's a real specimen. He's just absolutely huge.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I'm surprised when we drafted him. I went and looked him up, and I went and looked at the history, and I went, he's such a great natural athlete. If you've got coaching for a guy like that, he can become genuinely tremendous, and he can become elite. Why was nobody else looking to take someone like that? Is it because they don't want a project? I said before, we build our team from the rookies. We build the mentality, we build the system, everything else, which is why we don't buy the big name free agents. He has all that raw talent to become something special for us.
I think you're right. I think you're right. Certainly has the size requirements for an NFL player. But we will move on to our final segment, which is going to be win, lose, or tie.
Oh, let's go.
So for those of you that aren't familiar with the rules of this game, every fan that comes on, I'll go through each game and they'll answer with a simple answer of win, lose, or tie. Now, Steve, you were, of course, on last season's season preview. The Eagles in real life went 11-6. Do you by chance remember what your prediction was a year ago for your team?
I think I had us 12-5.
Incorrect, 13-4. So you only
4. I was optimistic last year, which was misplaced.
Well, I think I said this to our Seahawks fan in one of our earlier season previews this year. Do check it out with Mitch from 12 Talk if you haven't already. But I said to him at the time, if there's anyone that has the right to be confident, to predict that many wins, it's a fan of the team who's won the Super Bowl. So only one person each year gets to have that luxury. So, the fact that you went 13-4, the fact you won the Super Bowl and didn't really lose any, I can't remember any big names losing apart from obviously Brandon Graham, who obviously came back out of retirement to win a second ring. Did he come out of retirement, or did he come back to retirement this season, just gone?
He came back in retirement this season, gone. So he won the ring, retired, and then halfway through the season, we were like, we could really use some leadership here. Brandon, can you just come in from it? And he didn't play that. He didn't play that many snaps. But like I said, we do these preseason predictions, I always point out to you that sometimes having a guy who's a locker room leader that can unite players is worth way more than a £300 million quarterback. Okay, that's because team unity is what gets you through games like this.
I couldn't agree more. Week 1 is a repeat of the NFC Championship 2 seasons ago as you host the Washington Commanders. Steve, win, lose, or tie?
Win.
Okay, love that.
I don't know if anyone else's opinion on this, but this looks like one of the strangest Commanders teams I've ever seen. And this is an absolute prove it or you're done season for Jaden Daniels. Because he's at that stage now where he's looking very much like RG3/CJ Stroud. He needs a big season or the team is going to lose faith in him and they're going to look at maybe drafting next year.
I don't think that at all. I think even just his rookie year alone has given him enough sort of, what's the word, money in the bank. But also, anyone who's, I've just finished watching Quarterback on Netflix. I mean, he was injured for a lot of last year. So I think I'd be shocked if they trade him away. I think, it would take, I think what will happen to be, the worst thing that happened to him will be having to do a franchise tag or just a 1-year extension. I think that he's shown enough in his rookie year that if you keep him healthy and, all of that stuff attached, I think he'll be the future franchise for that guy. But having said that, if this season is a repeat of last season, then we are going to get RG4. So, yeah, I do think, injuries are a worry. The fact he came back when they should have let him just rest. They did in the end, but there was a point where he was injured for a second time. He came back, and they put him back on the field, which I thought was crazy. Even though he wants to play, everyone wants to play. I felt like that should have been their side to go, right, we're not making the playoffs. We're 3-9. Let's just call it a day. But I think that would be so harsh if they drafted for someone else. But week 2 is what I like to call the AJ Brown Draft Day Bowl, as you travel to the Tennessee Titans.
Now, shout out to Paul, who's a friend of mine and a really big Titans fan. I was impressed with the Titans as they came towards the end of the season last year. Now, they were a bad team, and we knew they were a bad team. But when you're a bad team and you know you're a bad team, all you can look for on that field is improvement. And what I saw week on week in Cam Ward was a quarterback getting better and better and more confident and understanding the players around him. And all they had to do to improve this year was not screw up the draft and not screw up the free agency. And they achieved both of those. So I think I've said to Paul before, I think that the Titans they'll get 6 or 7 wins this year. They will improve, but one of those wins will not be against us. So win for the Eagles.
Well, going from one friend to the other, in week 3, you face another one of your friends' teams. And of course, a guest on this off-season season predictions, Luke's Bears are hosting yourselves at Soldier Field. Luke's given his answer as to who he thinks will win the game. But who do you think will win the game?
The Indiana Bears, is that?
The Hammond Bears.
Hammond Bears, yeah. I don't know. The Bears last season, I felt kind of flattered to deceive. Really, they improved massively, but at the same time, I thought that division was there for the taking. I think they could have gone on and really, they should have had a deep playoff run.
Did they not win the division, though? They won the division.
No, I don't mean just as in they sneaked the division. I mean, they should have crushed that division, right? The Lions were in a slump. The Vikings had arguably for me one of the worst 5 quarterbacks in the league. The Packers were the Packers, which is just right now very middle of the pack. The Bears should have that 13-4 I predicted the Eagles. The Bears should have managed that. They should have won all 6 games in that division. And I don't think they did too badly in terms of their drafting or their free agency this year. And I want to back my team, I really do. But I have to accept that this will be, especially in the first 3-4 weeks, there will still be an offense in transition. So it's down to how that Bears defense plays. And it's a Bears defense at Soldier Field. And we haven't done brilliantly there, with the exception of the double doink. Luke will hate me for saying that. Begrudgingly, I am going to give that one to the Bears.
Well, spoiler alert, Luke also went for a Bears win over the Eagles.
Yeah, but he's not a realist. He's a fantasist. He believes the Bears can win a Super Bowl.
Well, I'll tell you off camera what his prediction was for the end of the season. Week 4, though, you are taking on many people's Super Bowl favourites in the Los Angeles Rams at Lincoln Financial Field.
I love that. There's one thing I really love about the Rams stuff off season. Yes, they went out and they got Myles Garrett. Brilliant. Okay. But they gave up Jared Verse. Yeah. And you remember from our playoff running, our Super Bowl win, you remember what Verse thought of Philly. Yeah. You remember him being very vocal about what he thought about Philly. And Jared Verse, welcome to a career in Cleveland. Yes. I do think the Rams look fantastic this year. I want to know how the whole Puka Nacua thing plays out, because obviously off season he's gone a bit mad. Is he getting into Antonio Brown levels of mad? I don't know, but he is randomly biting people, and his public statements and such, something's not quite right there. But offensively, that's a terrifying team. Defensively, that's a terrifying team. You've seen the rumors and you've seen the video clips of a certain number 99 training with them and telling us he's coming out of retirement. If he does, that's a Rams win. I'm not even going to try and defend that we could beat a team that has Myles Garrett and Aaron Donald. I just don't think we could. If he doesn't, I think we'll beat them.
Okay, I mean, I think they beat you regardless, but at the same time, yeah, that's absolutely scary. Week 5 is a game we've mentioned before. The Eagles go back to London for the first time since the 2018 season when they took on the Jags. They're playing the Jags again for what it sounds like is your first ever Eagles game in person. So first of all, before we go into any predictions, how excited are you to see your team play for the first time in the flesh?
I think what I love most about this was I kind of had the opportunity to go and see them in 2018, but other things with family and such came up to the point where when it came time to buy tickets, I simply couldn't justify, I'm here in the Isle of Man, so it's for me to get over there, get down there, stay for a couple of days, watch the game, you're looking at outlays well over like £1,000, £1,500 almost. And I could not. I had some family stuff going on, especially with the kids. I just couldn't justify that kind of money at that particular time. The annoying thing was later in the year, when the game was just about coming around, I did actually have some money. But by that point, you're not getting a ticket. The Eagles are one of the franchise teams that everybody wants to go and see. I remember we were talking last season about, was it the Browns Jets or something? And nobody wanted to go and see it. There were huge holes in the thingy season, the stadium. This will be a full house for the Eagles game, 100%. I cannot wait. I genuinely cannot wait. My mother, the cousin on my mother's side, he's got a standing offer to me to come out to Philly. His boss has a box at the Link, so he's always said, if you can ever get yourself out here, I'll get you to a game. So I kind of had pinned my hopes on that, assuming the Eagles wouldn't be back. And yet here we are. So I am absolutely stoked, man. Although I'd like to say screw you to Liverpool Comic Con, because I take my daughter to Comic Con every year. It's her thing. She loves it. I just kind of go along and stand there holding the camera. And it's always in November. It's always the second week in November. And for some reason, I don't know why, they decided this year, let's hold it in October on the same week, the same weekend as the Eagles game. So I've got to go to Liverpool, do the Comic-Con, drop them off, get a late night train down from Liverpool to London, get in midnight, get a few hours sleep, and then get up and get ready for the game the next day. So regardless, I wasn't missing this for the world. I wasn't. If it had been any team other than the Eagles this year, I might have missed the whole London trip, but I'm not missing this for the world.
Wow. I mean, that sounds like one hell of a weekend. But, Steve, will that weekend be capped off with an Eagles win?
Absolutely. I think, sorry to Clay, who's a good friend of mine, a big Jags fan, I do think we see a Jags regression this year. I think that was their peak last year, and I think divisionally, I don't think they're taking the title this year. Colts will improve, Titans will improve. They'll lose games in the division, and I don't think they'll win the title.
I totally agree. I think they'll regress as well. And of course, you will catch Steve as well as Luke on our season predictions episode nearer the time to the start of the season, so you can find out on that episode where we rank each division and all the rest of the good stuff. Champions, flop team, surprise team, all of that is all to come in the future. But
just remind me of that. Who's the current defending champion of that?
I actually can't remember it. I'm guessing it's you.
Yeah, it is indeed me. Yeah, I got my second one last year. I think you've got 2. I've got 2. Luke's got 1.
Yeah, that's how I know I've got 2, but I kind of forgotten exactly how many each one had. It's all in a Word document, so I can go on Word now and find it within 5 minutes. But yeah, top of my head, I just couldn't remember who won it last year.
We should definitely mock him for being the kind of poor man amongst the 3 of us.
Oh yeah, absolutely. When we next meet up, that is definitely the plan. Week 6, you are taking on the Panthers back in the States at home.
I like the Panthers. I like what the Panthers did offensively in the summer. I like that they're in a division that's absolutely up for grabs because a lot of the teams there have had a lot of big changes. But I don't think I like them enough to say they're going to beat us. Also, I think David Tepper's a horrific human being. So just for the sake of that, I'm going to say we're going to beat them.
Okay, well then week 7, you are staying at home, but this time you are taking on the Dallas Cowboys.
Home win.
Fair enough. We all know on the Cowboys.
You're never going to get that one out of me. No. When they went for the rest of the game, maybe, but never. We will never lose at home at Dallas.
Well, week 8, you are on the road for the first time in America since week 3. You're taking on the Commanders.
It's that field. Can either quarterback stay upright or uninjured? No, we can't lose to the Commanders this year. Divisionally, I'm putting us 5 out of 6. No, we're not losing to the Commanders. No, we're winning. Yep.
Well, week 9, you are sticking with the NFC East, and this time you are hosting the New York Giants.
That's an Eagles win. I don't care whether Cam Scatterbo is doing backflips on a half-broken leg or Jackson Dart's pretending to be the next second coming of Trump. Neighbours isn't fit. There's not enough depth in that team to beat us, and defensively we'll beat them. Not just offensively, but defensively I think that's where we'll beat them.
Well, week 10 is a bye week, so week 11 is going to be a game against the Pittsburgh Steelers and your final ever game against Aaron Rodgers.
I don't know what to make of the Steelers this year. I don't know about you. Rodgers is coming back. They signed Drew Law's contract today. I don't even know who the third string quarterback's going to be. They've got DK Metcalf, who's kind of, I feel, on a slide ever since the Seattle days. They signed Pittman from the Colts. So Rodgers has got weapons, but Rodgers hasn't really got an arm anymore. 2 big downfield threats, 2 big guys with no. Sorry, but unless the Steelers could establish a run game, they don't have a chance in that. We should really run all over them. Although it is the Battle of Pennsylvania, so that does make it anything goes. Nope, Eagles win.
So week 12, you are on the road for back-to-back road games, and the first one is against the Dallas Cowboys.
Fine, they can have that one.
We'll go.
We'll probably get blinded by the sun or something.
Week 13, going from one extreme to the other, you host the Cardinals, so you travel to the Cardinals.
Do you know when I went to London game once and we were playing the Jets, and I was like, that's one of those kind of banana skin games that there's no way on this earth we should lose that. We're going to lose that game.
Wow.
I do not know why, but we're going to lose that game. I just feel it in the gut. It's one of those teams that we should absolutely trounce, and we should, by that point, have a good winning record and a lot of confidence in the team. And we'll go in there overconfident, and we will lose. Marvin Harrison might have quite a season this season. I don't quite know. Their quarterback situation is what enthralls me. It's a bit of a mess there.
Well, week 14 is the start of 3 straight home games for the Eagles. And the first up is a team that we had on our last season preview, the Indianapolis Colts.
I like the Colts this year. I think if Daniel Jones is staying fit, remember they had that ridiculous run at the start of the year, then Jones got injured and suddenly they fell apart. It's all about managing your QB. Just keep him on the field. If you need to, play more on the ground, you've got Jonathan Taylor to lean on. You've got Tyler Warren at tight end. Maybe wide receiver wise, they could do with a bit of help. But I like the Colts. I think they're divisional contenders. I think they probably will win the division. And we are due to lose to an AFC team. So I don't want to lose the link. But if it's the Colts, then I don't feel quite so bad. Yep, Colts win.
Okay, well then, week 15, you're taking on the current Super Bowl champions, the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah, and they will probably win. Nothing Seattle has done in the offseason has made me think that any less of a contender than they were last year. And the connection between Donald and JSN is just phenomenal. Our secondary has always been a problem. I don't know how we'll cope with a fully fit, 100% Jackson Smith and Jigba just tearing it up. Who have they got in the run game? Jadarian Price. I'm interested to see with Seattle whether or not Price or Charbonnet is getting snaps by that point, because once we're past week 10, Charbonnet should be back. But I like the run game. I like the balance of their offense. I love the defense. It's solid. And they are Super Bowl champions. They're the kind of game we might win in preseason and in postseason if we play them, but I think in a regular season they'll probably go over us.
And they've given you their biggest liability, so even more of a reason to say a Seahawks win. Going on to week 16, your final home game of the regular season as you take on the Houston Texans.
Yeah, that's going to be we're going to win that. I said we were due lost in the AFC team. It's not going to be the Texans. If we lose to the Colts, I can deal with it because Jonathan Taylor is a fantastic player. Texans, as long as we keep Nico Collins quiet, there's not a huge amount on that team that impresses me offensively. And CJ Stroud is, we talked earlier about Jaden Daniels being in a prove it season. CJ Stroud is in a are you that guy season. Can you go back to your rookie year, or are you going to have a repeat of last year? And if he has a repeat of last year, he's into journeyman mode for me. So, home win.
Yeah, I think he's on borrowed time. Week 17 is a game against the 49ers at Levi Stadium.
Yeah, they seem to have got rid of the distractions. The Ayuk thing is, they've played it well. I thought that would be more of a distraction to the team, but they've just let Ayuk go off and be a madman on his own somewhere in the corner, and they've isolated him completely. And they've quietly, in the meantime, gone out and picked up the likes of Mike Evans and fixed those holes. Keep Purdy in the field. I still don't think they can win the Super Bowl because I've said 100 times Brock Purdy will never win a Super Bowl. He's not a Super Bowl winning quarterback. It's a mentality thing. But I think that's enough for them to beat us.
Okay, so that means you then face, in Week 18, MetLife Stadium, the New York Giants. For the final time in this episode, Steve, win, lose or tie?
That's a win. I from what I said before, that Giants team is they're all show. It's like a reality TV show more than an organized football team. And I don't see them doing it. I think I'm not sure they'll finish. Will they finish above the Commanders? I don't know. I think both them and the Commanders could finish with 6 wins or less this season.
If it wasn't for Harbaugh, I would totally agree with you. And I do think, I'll mention it more in the season preview, but I don't see Dart and Scatterby being in the league in 5 years. But I think short term they could be good. And I think Harbaugh is a leader of men. He has proved it. He provides stability, maybe not Super Bowls apart from that 1 year, but certainly I think he'll be enough to them to improve. But I just think the Eagles and Cowboys are just way stronger of a roster, and I think Harbaugh in a few years could do some good stuff. But I think as a first year in charge, I don't believe that he'll do much. But this means, according to your predictions, you're going to go 10-7.
Yeah, that's not far off where I think we are this year. 10-7, maybe 11-6. Maybe I could flip to that Cardinals game because it's just one of those. It's a trap game. It feels like a trap game. We always have a trap game every season. So yeah, I'm confident we've got a winning season this year. Don't know how that's going to progress into the playoffs, but yeah.
Well, there we are. That is the end of our season preview, our Eagles season preview. So, Steve, first of all, once again, huge thank you for coming on today.
Thanks for having me on, man. Honestly, absolutely love doing these. Looking forward to doing the season predictions late in the month.
Me too. It's going to be good. Stay tuned for that, and also all the other season previews that are to come between now and then. But in the meantime, this has been our Eagles season preview with, as ever, your host today, Andy Davis, with our guest in Steve McGuinness, our Eagles fan. And we'll see you guys for our next team season preview. Take care.
Okay. Bye.